Hello, I'm Mitch Novi. I am a senior technical training specialist for the MJF Multi-Jet Fusion technology, more specifically HP's industrial 3D printers. What I want to do is just give you a quick crash course on SmartStream Build Manager. I'll just give you an idea of some of the different tools associated with the software, as well as some of the different little hidden tips and tricks that can be used with the software when assembling a build to get ready to print for a build in one of HP's 3D printers. So what we're looking at here is the very basic software that is used. It's a free download. It's decent software for managing and designing your builds. What's nice about it is a lot of the different icons here on the left-hand side are pretty universal when it comes to um, you know understanding what they might do. So we'll take a look at some of these different buttons first. Then we'll look at some of the different parameters and job settings that you have over on the right-hand side. I'll also show you how to import in, parts. And maybe in another video later down the road, I'll also talk about part orientation and show how to produce parts as well. All right, so starting off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go up to my Add Parts sign. We're just going to grab a couple different parts here. All right, so let's see here. I'm going to grab some 3D files. So what's nice about this software is you can import OBJ, STL, 3MF, VRML as well. So there's a lot of different file formats that you can bring into SmartStream Build Manager. I'm just going to grab a few different things here. I'm going to grab, let's see, I'm going to grab a pineapple. Let's go with a pirate ship as well. Um, let's see here, a gear tree, that's a pretty classic one. And go with a spinning keychain as well. So we're going to grab a few different parts to take a look at. We're going to import them into SmartStream Build Manager. All right, and some of these might be bigger or smaller, so what we'll do is we'll scale them to fit. We might have to adjust the size of some of these as well, so that's okay. So we've imported all of our parts into SmartStream Build Manager. So we brought in what looks like a pineapple here. What we'll do is we'll separate these. So we've got a few different things. We've got a keychain, it looks like, or a floating keychain with a little, what looks like I guess it's a spinning keychain of a clover, like a lucky clover. Here's our gear tree, so we'll probably have to make that a little bit bigger as well. We'll just make that a little bit larger, shrink down our pineapple a little bit. All right, and there's our keychain, and then our last but not least, we have looks like a pirate ship as well that needs to be dramatically made bigger as well. So let's see if we can make that a little bit bigger too. And we'll bring that to the surface. There we go. So there's 4 different items here that we're going to print in our job. Definitely some very strange objects, but nonetheless, for this example, this will be good to sort of show you some different components and how you can sort of adjust and take different views on some of the different parts in your build. So right now what we're doing is we're looking at 4 different parts. We have a pirate ship, a pineapple, a gear tree, and this little keychain, this spinning keychain. Really neat parts, I guess. If you're really interested in some color parts, there's some color parts that are nice to look at. But starting off here, what we're going to do is we're going to auto-fix a couple of these parts. The auto-fix feature in SmartStream Build Manager is nice because it does fix some very basic issues with the parts. It could be mesh closing issues. It could be shells that are in the print file itself. There's a lot of different things that could be wrong. If this doesn't fix it, typically what you'll have to do is go back to the CAD software and try to fix it in there, or you can use a third-party software to potentially try to fix specific triangles or mesh issues with the geometry of the parts. So I'm just auto-fixing my parts so we have access to them. So what I want to start off by showing is at the very top, this is basically your select tool. This allows you to select whatever part you want to work on or orient inside your build. Pretty simple. This is the tool I was just using. This is your tool to be able to move parts around your build. You can also use the top arrow to move it in the Z dimension as well. Another tool I'm going to go ahead and show is this move to bed tool. This moves the selected part or parts to the bottom of the XY plane, which is sort of nice. All right. And you also have the scaling tool that you saw me use earlier when I was rescaling the size of the gear tree and the pineapple in the pirate ship. That's nice because you can also change the very specific dimensions of the part by actually going in and typing in how big you want it to be, depending on the specific access or what percentage you want that to be, that part, the size of it or the scale. You can also rotate parts, which will be very important when we talk about orienting parts for a build at some point. So one of my next videos will have to do with orienting parts, but this allows you to rotate in different measurements or different angles, different parts. What's nice about this is if you roll along the outside edges, it gives you very specific degree measurements, whereas if you snap inside to the inside perimeter of the circle, you'll notice that it snaps to 10-degree increments, okay? So it's sort of a nice little tool to use for orienting parts. You can also duplicate parts, as I just did. You'll notice that I duplicated the gear tree. You can also hit delete to delete that part that I just made. Let's see here. The cutaway tool is really nice because one of the big issues with this software is that there is no collision detection. So if you have parts that are close together, you want to make sure that they are not colliding. How do you do that? Well, you can use this cutaway tool, and there you can cut the X, Y, or Z axis. And what this does is it allows you to look at different angles of a part, and it allows you to sort of do a cutaway and see if it's hollowed out or see if parts or areas of the part are touching. Sort of a nice tool to use, okay? So you can do other accesses as well to sort of see if anything is touching. It's nice. You can also use the zoom tool. So it just allows you to zoom in and out of your workspace or specific parts. You can use the pan tool to pan left or right or up or down. And then of course the opposite or sort of the inverse of that would be able to rotate or orbit around the entire build. One of my favorite tools is if you want to orbit around a very specific part, you can double click it. And what that does is if you actually select that part, that will allow you to orbit specifically around that part, okay? So it actually sets the orbit around that specific part, the center of that part, which is sort of nice because that's another way you can look for collision detection. You can also go back to your home view, which is nice. It just brings you back to this sort of default view when you open up the software. And you can look at some of the different angled views as well. So you can move to the top of the build, you can move to different sides of the build, which is really nice. You can look up underneath the build. And this is sort of nice because, like I said, if you're trying to design your build and see if anything's touching or see if you're close to the perimeter of the build volume, this is a good way to do that. What I would suggest, sort of generally speaking, is a mouse that has a wheel and 2 buttons, because if you are using the move tool, you can have the move tool selected. And what's nice is you can use the wheel on your mouse to zoom in and out. You can use the right click, hold down the right click to rotate around the build area. You can also, of course, select parts to move them around. So and if you hold down on the mouse wheel as well, which is sort of cool, that allows you to pan. So using a mouse, an external mouse, is really nice with this software, and it makes it easier to use. One of the other things I'll show you briefly here, there's a few different modes that you can view your parts in. All right, so I'm going to go back to my home view here, zoom in a little bit. There's a geometry view that just basically shows you your parts. If you are in the view to see your parts in geometry view. If it's blue, it means the part is selected. If it's gray, it means it's not selected. If it's yellow, it means it's outside the build volume. And if it's red, so for instance, here, let me add another part here to show you what it would look like. I'll add another, I don't know. Let's see, I'll add a, where's my gear tree? I'll add that again. So if I add another gear tree, and And I'll make it a little bit bigger here. Let me make my gear tree just a little bit bigger. Okay, move it to the build volume. You'll notice that it's red. If it's red, it means that there are geometry errors with the part itself. So that's where you'll have to go in and fix that. But that's sort of the geometry view, what it looks like. You can also use a color view. This is sort of what it would look like as far as RGB values are concerned. Your actual print view for colored parts, if you change it to the print view, this is what they will look like essentially after they've been printed, at least with colors. It's more of a matte finish. So anyways, that's sort of your different views over here and your tools associated with SmartStream Build Manager. What we'll do on our next video is we'll take a look at some of the different job settings and how to sort of dig into job settings as well. Thanks for watching.